Hi, it's Dan with Master of the Morning, so you own the day. Have you ever wondered why the mega wealthy, why the most successful people on the planet always drive high performance cars? They buy the Beamers, they buy the Maseratis, the Lambos, the Ferraris. They push themselves in a Porsche. Why? It's not just because they can afford them. It's because they love to go fast. They love to push themselves to their ultimate capacity and potential as a human being. And they're smart enough to know that if they're willing to go fast, they better be willing to prepare themselves to go fast, so they enroll in these high-performance driving schools. I've gone to Nürburgring in northern Germany, and Daytona, and in California, and in Phoenix. Why? When you're prepared, you shall not fear, and only through preparation can you take yourself to that supersonic level that was illustrated so beautifully in the latest Top Gun Maverick movie that I've illuminated in a previous Master of the Morning. What I took from that is so critically important that I wanted to jump back on here because so many of you responded, and I got such a huge response to that Master of the Morning. I needed to jump back on here and take us to the next level. Point. Pressure is not something that's naturally there. It's created when you question your own ability, and when you know what you've been trained to do, there's never any pressure. That's why we train and practice so hard. So as you recall my story, my first opportunity to fly a fighter jet was in Patuxent River, Maryland, an F-18 featured in Top Gun Maverick. And when I showed up on that base, they didn't just take me out of my car and immediately put me in the cockpit of a supersonic jet. They taught me and reminded me of the significance of preparation. So obviously I went to the flight surgeon. He gave me a complete physical check, things I didn't even think I owned. They fitted me in my flight suit, gave me my safety vest, my torso harness, steel-toed boots, gloves, my helmet, 85 pounds of combat gear, and they first took me. My first stop was the Aquatic Center, an Olympic-sized swimming pool. They had me jump in on one side and swim 2 complete lengths, a total of 100 yards. In 85 pounds of combat gear, I sunk about 19 times, almost drowned 14 times. What kept me going? I knew that I must be willing to pay the price today so I could enjoy the prize forever. When you're prepared, you shall not fear. They didn't even allow me to dry off and took me to this giant Quonset hangar, where inside was this sled at a 45-degree angle to simulate ejecting from a plane. The sergeant who was in charge of my training, I swear he had one glass eye. His call sign was Psycho. He says, "You ever eject out of a plane?" I'm like, "Duh." He said, "Strap in, and when I say 3, pull that yellow lever between your legs." I pulled the yellow lever. It whisked me. It shot me up that sled. I caught 3.2 G's. Then they took me in for spatial disorientation training in case I lose my equilibrium. I'm upside down so long, whatever the case may be. So they strapped me onto an exotic bar stool, spun me around for 5 minutes, had me get off and find the wall plug next to the door casing. I felt like I was in a bad fraternity party in college. And that night they introduced me to Colonel Dog Thompson, call sign Gator, a Marine aviator, Gulf War hero. I said, "Is there something I need to eat tonight in preparation for my flight in the morning?" And he smirked and said, "Yeah, bananas." I said, "Why am I going to cramp up? Do I need the potassium?" He said, "No, it's because bananas taste exactly the same going up as they did going down, coming up as they did going down." The next morning, they introduced me to my pilot. He was a Gulf War hero. He had more carrier landings and takeoffs than any other pilot on that base. The only challenge was I'm looking for Maverick, I'm looking for Iceman, I'm looking for Cougar. And they introduced me to Captain Reuter, call sign Roto. I'm putting my life in the hands of Roto Reuter. We strap into that cockpit, and it's an afterburner takeoff straight up, 90 degrees to 25,000 feet elevation. We do the double roll out, and during the course of that 90-minute sortie, he allowed me to take the stick for 30 out of the 90 minutes. We did a giant loop We did the aileron rolls. We did every maneuver you can imagine, caught 7.1 Gs a few times, going twice the speed of sound, Mach 2 with my hair on fire. And when we landed, I was interviewing him basically when he reminded me of the lessons of taking ourselves to that supersonic highest level. He reminded me that when we slid into that cockpit was crammed full of gauges and gadgets, state-of-the-art high technology. And yet we didn't push ourselves to our ultimate capacity and potential as a human being using the left brain psychobabbling cognitive neurotechnical side of the brain. We went supersonic using the right brain, the touchy-feely, relational, passionate side of the brain. And when we landed and I got out of the plane, the journalist there who was covering this amazing opportunity, he asked me one question: "So Clark, did you pop your cookies?" And I said, Colonel Doug Thompson was absolutely correct about those bananas. Not only did I eject the bananas, but I think I ejected a box of Milk Duds I ate at a movie when I was 9. I was upside down so long, I think I'm the only human being who's ever thrown down. What are you willing to do to prepare yourself to make as much money as you deserve, to take your career, to climb that leadership ladder as high as you dream it to go? It all begins with preparation. And if this message resonates with you, I ask you, what are you willing to do to prepare yourself right now today? What class are you going to take? What podcast are you going to listen to? What mastermind are you going to join to make sure you're prepared when that opportunity to go Mach 2 with your hair on fire presents itself?